Hi, brothers and sisters. This is Ryan Zell of Christian Virtue and Grace. We continue to hear this from the heterodox. Hi, brothers and sisters. This is Ryan Zell of Christian Virtue and Grace. We keep getting the Constantine created the Roman Catholic Church fallacy from the ignorant side of the heterodox. Did Constantine create the Catholic Church? According to Protestants, especially those belonging to the pseudo-Christian man-made in America cult religions, such as Jehovah's Witnesses, the Catholic Church was a creation of the Roman Emperor Constantine. How true is this popular assertion made by the anti-Catholic bigots and trolls who prowl the internet? Come and see. Here is the summary of the claim. The Emperor Constantine the Great created the Catholic Church at the Council of Nicaea in 325 AD, which he specifically convoked and presided over. This argument is made perhaps due to the fact that what is briefly called the Nicene Creed has as its fourth article the profession of belief in one holy Catholic and Apostolic Church. Perhaps others make this claim because they do not know any better, given the sad state of Protestants unable to use their critical thinking skills to actually do research when presented with such idiotic claims from their equally ignorant preachers and pastors. What has happened is that the ignorant clientele of these denominations and cults have produced generation upon generation of useful idiots who propagate this rubbish from father to son and mother to daughter and blast this information all over the internet as if it were true. Perhaps some, knowing better, prefer to hold on to this myth, which gives them comfort, while others just prefer to lie. After all, it was Martin Luther, the father of the Reformation, who famously stated, "What harm could it do if a man hold a good, lusty lie in a worthy cause and for the sake of the Christian churches?" The Arian heresy denied that Christ was truly God, but the first created being through whom all other created beings were made. It is the same view held by the Jehovah's Witnesses today. The heresy had gained widespread belief and threatened to divide Christianity. In 313, Pope St. Miltiades appointed Hosius of Cordoba as an advisor and legate to the court of the Emperor Constantine. Due to the Arian controversy, Hosius advised Constantine to petition Pope St. Sylvester I to call a council of bishops to settle the dispute which threatened the stability of the empire. Pope St. Sylvester agreed and called an ecumenical council in 325 AD and appointed Hosius of Cordoba as the papal legate to convoke and preside over the council. There is no record of Constantine taking any part in the deliberation of the council, though he attended sessions of the council. There is no mention of him in the consular canons, although he is mentioned in the synodal letter. The Creed of Nicaea only contained Articles 1, 2, and 3. Articles 4 and 5 were added, amending the creed at the First Council of Constantinople in 381. It is in Article 4 that the sentence, "I believe in the one holy Catholic and Apostolic Church," appears. This is why the creed is known as the Niceno-Constantinopolitan Creed. If Constantine created the Catholic Church, there would not have been a church known as the Catholic Church before Constantine. This would make sense to everyone, but given that those who belong to the American cult religions are known for their imbecilic slowness, an explanation may be necessary. Be attentive, all you brainiacs who believe that Constantine created the Catholic Church. Something cannot exist before it is created or invented. So here we have to stop and ask these people to use what little critical thinking skills they possess. If the thing can be demonstrated, to exist prior to its claimed creation or invention, then that claimed creation or invention would be demonstratively false. Following this, if we can demonstrate that the Catholic Church existed prior to Constantine, Constantine cannot be the inventor or creator of Catholicism. That just stands to reason for reasonable people who can use their God-given logic and reason. It is easily demonstrable that the Catholic Church was mentioned prior to Constantine. The term Catholic Church was used to refer to a specific church. The Catholic Church was not taken to mean some nebulous entity to which anyone claiming to be a Bible believer belonged to, as some Protestants claim without providing evidence for making such a claim. No one believed in a Bible because the Bible did not exist, as there was no canonical Bible at that time. The Catholic Church canonized the Bible in 397. The Catholic Church existed prior to the Bible. Any claim that Constantine created the Catholic Church is an unsustainable proposition. As St. Cyril of Jerusalem explains in his catechetical lecture, if ever you are sojourning to cities, inquire not simply where the Lord's house is, for the other sects of the profane also attempt to call their own dens houses of the Lord, nor merely where the church is, but where is the Catholic Church? For this is the peculiar name of the Holy Church, the mother of us all, the Apostolic Church. Now let's read St. Ignatius of Antioch from the letter or epistle to the Smyrnaeans, written in 107 AD. See that you all follow the bishop, even as Jesus Christ does the Father, and the presbytery as you would the apostles, and reverence the deacons as being the institution of God. Let no man do anything connected with the church without the bishop. Let that be deemed a proper Eucharist, which is administered either by the bishop or by one to whom he has entrusted it. Wherever the bishop shall appear, there let the multitude also be. Even as wherever Jesus Christ is, there is the Catholic Church. It is not lawful without the bishop either to baptize or to celebrate a love feast, but whatsoever he shall approve of. That is also pleasing to God, so that everyone that is done may be secure and valid. As St. Ignatius of Antioch was ordained a bishop by St. Peter and became the third patriarchal bishop of Antioch, he together with Polycarp were disciples of St. John, who formed them in the Catholic faith. Here St. Ignatius treats the Catholic Church as a mia mone, the one and only, the church where Christ is. Truly, Christ resides physically in the tabernacle of every Catholic Church. The Catholic Church is God's own church, the one and only church that existed before denominations began to exist. The Catholic Church is synonymous with Christianity prior to denominations beginning to exist. The Muratorian fragment is the earliest known biblical canon. It lists the books which belong in the Bible, the books which may be read but not during the sacred liturgy, and those that should be rejected. The document mentions the Catholic Church by name 3 times. The writer mentions books that are held in high esteem to regulate discipline in the Catholic Church. The writer also mentions books that the Marcionite heretics forged, which they credited to St. Paul, and that those should not be read in the Catholic Church. He also mentions some of the epistles, that of John and Jude, which are read in the Catholic Church. We know the approximate date of the document because it mentions that it was written when St. Pius I was seated in the chair of St. Peter, the Bishop of Rome, and that Hermas, his brother, had just completed the Shepherd. The document provides evidence as to what is being read in the church at the time and what is believed to be the authentic canon by the unnamed writer. The documents canon is missing some books found in today's Bibles and some additional books not present in the canonized New Testament of the Council of Carthage of 397 AD. It mentions that Pius is seated in the chair of Rome, and in doing so, the writer emphasizes the existence of the papacy. The Church of God, which sojourns at Smyrna, to the church sojourning in Philomelium, and to all the congregations of the Holy and Catholic Church in every place, mercy, peace, and love from God the Father and of our Lord Jesus Christ be multiplied. Saint Irenaeus of Lyon was the first bishop of Lyon in France. He was a disciple of Polycarp, who in turn was a disciple of Saint John. Saint John ordained Saint Buculus and Saint Polycarp as bishops of Smyrna. When Saint Buculus passed from this earth into eternal life, Saint Polycarp took his place as bishop. Saint Irenaeus, who was ordained by Saint Polycarp, is still in Asia Minor before departing for Gaul, where he becomes its bishop. Protestant Huguenots removed Saint Irenaeus' body from its tomb in St. John's Cathedral in Lyon and burned this body in 1562 and ransacked the monastery of Lyon, stealing the Codex Canobriganus few days prior to St. Bartholomew's Day massacre, when Catholics had enough with the Protestant mobs burning, lootings, and murders. Here we have St. Irenaeus writing a letter to all the congregations of the Catholic Church everywhere, informing all these congregations that Polycarp has died a martyr for the Catholic faith. He does not write to some nebulous Christian group or non-denominational startups, but to the Catholic Church in every place it exists. Saint Clement of Alexandria, from his Stromata, circa 198 AD. Therefore, in substance and idea, in origin, in preeminence, we say that the ancient and Catholic Church is alone, collecting as it does into the unity of the one faith, which results from the peculiar testaments, or rather the one testament in different times, by the will of the one God through one Lord, those already ordained, whom God predestined, knowing before the foundation of the world that they would be righteous. Saint Clement was a Greek priest and a theologian and philosopher from Alexandria, where he was the head of the catechetical school, which is a seminary in that city. His pupil in the city of Alexandria was Saint Alexander, who becomes the Bishop of Jerusalem. Eventually, due to persecution in Alexandria, Clement moves to Jerusalem. When Saint Alexandria of Jerusalem is thrown into prison, Saint Clement manages the affairs of the church in the city until his release. Here we have Saint Clement teaching that the Catholic Church alone is the collection of all persons predestined to be declared saints and already obtained to heaven. The Catholic Church has existed in the covenants in different periods of time, but it is the mia monet, one and only church to which the elect belong. There is overwhelming evidence that the Catholic Church existed to Constantine. There is no one church other than the Catholic Church to which those who are to be saved belong. It is the one church that belongs to Christ himself. It is his church, which he calls my church. The heretics and Gnostics called themselves Christians, but they were never Christians. Every single early Christian martyr was a Catholic who belonged to the one holy, Catholic, and Apostolic Church. Any claim that Constantine created the Catholic Church is a myth peddled by uneducated, know-nothing anti-Catholic bigots, and there are many of these moronic buffoons who claim that they are the real Christians. Almost all of them belong to one of the man-made in America cult religions, none of which are in true sense even Christians, as they reject the sacramental nature of baptism and the Niceno-Constantinopolitan Creed. But there is always one moron in the crowd who always wants to go out of his way to demonstrate that he is indeed a complete and utter imbecile. And believe it or not, there are many of these dunces around. He is the fool who sticks his hands up and objects. He would say something to the effect of, fair enough, but Constantine did not create the Catholic Church, but he did create the Roman Catholic Church. You can scour primary source writings prior to 1535, and you will never find the term Roman Catholic Church anywhere. In fact, there is no such thing called the Roman Catholic Church. This is a phenomenon found in the Anglosphere and used in countries where the English language has had an influence and in British former colonies. There is one Catholic Church, which is a composite of 24 churches. Of these churches, the Western Church, also known as the Latin Rite, is the largest and the most prominent of the 24 sui juris churches. When referring to this church, Eastern Orthodox and Oriental Orthodox prefer using the term Latins or Western. When Pope Benedict XVI dropped the title as the Patriarch of the West, these churches lamented the dropping of the title as a break from a long-held tradition. The term Roman Catholic came into existence due to Thomas Cranmer. Prior to Cranmer, there is no known use of the term. Cranmer coined the term Roman Catholic Church in an attempt to regionalize the Catholic Church's jurisdiction to Rome so that he could make the claim for his king, Henry VIII, that an English church is also another regional church that can claim to be Catholic. Henry VIII wanted a church that would grant him a divorce. And with a reformational parliament seated between 1529 and 1536, this parliament passed the 1534 Act of Supremacy, which made Henry and his successors the supreme heads of the Church of England. However, Thomas Cranmer was made Archbishop of Canterbury on March 30th, 1533, and granted Henry's divorce on the 23rd of May of that year. No appeal of the judgment could be made to Rome, as a reformational parliament had passed the Ecclesiastical Appeals Act of 1532, and a praemunire by royal decree had been issued against such appeals. While Henry wanted his own church, which would grant him a divorce, he had no desire for the wholesale transformation of the denomination which both Cranmer and the reformational parliament sought. Cranmer, by claiming the Catholic Church was the Roman Catholic Church, sought to undermine the universal nature of the Catholic Church and denying the Catholicity of Catholicism, and also gave Henry the ability to claim that the Church of England was just another Catholic church. The pretense of the Church of England being Catholic ended upon Edward's ascension to the English throne, and Cranmer was able to create his own Calvinist Protestant denomination, the Edwardian Ordinal of 1549, which changed the role of the bishops and the 42 Articles of Religion in 1552, which transformed the Church of England into a Calvinist denomination. However, the term Roman Catholic did not catch on yet, as almost all the Protestants just loved using their favorite pejorative terms: Popery, Baptist, Romanish, or Romanist Church instead. Ireland, prior to Protestantism, was officially a papal fiefdom, and English kings were only lords of Ireland. Henry VIII was proclaimed King of Ireland by a parliament of English Protestant settlers in 1541, who then drove out the Catholic families off their lands. 616,000 Irish Catholics were murdered by the English and Scottish Protestants in the ensuing years, and Catholicism was suppressed in Ireland. The Roman Catholic Emancipation Act of 1829, which reduced many restrictions on Irish Catholics, in particular led to the general usage of the term Roman Catholic. Official documents now began using the term Roman Catholic to refer to those who were of the Catholic faith. Since official documents in Great Britain and Ireland required one to identify their faith, RC or Roman Catholic was used to identify Catholics that the term came into common usage. When the Irish began their mass immigration to the United States, they would identify themselves as Roman Catholics, as that was their religion on their papers. This term was adopted all throughout the British Empire's Commonwealth for the purpose of identification and census. In short, Constantine did not create a pagan syncretic religion which he named Roman Catholicism. It was a name coined by British and English Protestants to refer to the Catholic Church, which existed already for 1,500 years prior to the Reformation. Napoleon Bonaparte, the Emperor of France, who persecuted the Church, who conquered most of Europe, remarked that the happiest day of his life was his First Communion Day. If you are Catholic, you are indelibly marked as one called by God Himself, and God will keep tugging you back into the sheepfold. Every ex-Catholic is only one confession away from his predestined home. If you liked the video, please click the like button.